This is Wade, and you are in Wade World. Today, we are pronouncing judgment on TPUSA. Now, if you don't know what TPUSA is, it is the organization that Charlie Kirk founded. And after he was sadly assassinated, it is the organization that continues after him. And much like every organization whose founder passes away, and kingdom whose king passes away, it has devolved into something completely antithetical to the person who built it. They're trying to replace people with cookie cutter NPCs. So, TPUSA, let's do a brief review of what TPUSA is all about. So, Charlie Kirk started as a YouTuber or social media guy who disagreed with some things that were going on in the United States, whether it was feminism, whether it was too much anti religion stuff, anti child stuff, pro degeneracy, pro homosexuality stuff. He started having conversations with people, especially with students on campuses, in a format of change my mind. So if you think that it's okay for children to be taken away from their father and fathers to be kicked out of the house so that the mothers can, bring multiple strange men into the house while also charging money from the father as alimony and child support and abusing the children, why do you think this is fair to men? And he would challenge people like, if you think homosexuals should be adopting children, why do you think it is? I don't think it's right. Change my mind. So this blew up into quite a big organization because every single rabbit hole that you go down to, right? If you go down deep enough, there is a joke that the T becomes silent in today's world. And what happened with Charlie Kirk was inevitable. Whether you start off with feminism, whether you start off with what's wrong with our money, whether you start off with what's going on, why don't I have a job, why are there so many foreign people in my country, or even something simple as what's going on with fragrances, why are fragrances more chemically these days? At the end of your research, if you're really detailed and you really get to the bottom of it, there's going to be a bunch of Jews. This is just a fact. There's going to be a bunch of Jews messing it up for everybody, right? It's like they can't help but finger everything. So Charlie Kirk started this organization having these superficial conversations of changing my mind. And pretty soon, in a couple of years, he grew big because again, there were a bunch of Jews who funded him and they were like, yes, keep talking about the symptoms, feminism, weakening of the family, degeneracy, anti-child, anti-family laws, you know, going weaker towards chaos, growing weaker with respect to the quality of life. Keep talking about the symptoms, we'll pay you and we'll make you big. Never talk about us because we're behind most of this stuff that's happening in your country because that is their strategy, right? You have to understand their strategy is basically mislead everybody else and destroy them because they're stupid while doing not absolutely opposite on your own home front. So the reason he got assassinated was because inevitably, even with his slow walking and trying to be nice, he he hit that wall where he's like, all right, most of the stuff that I'm talking about that I have a problem with, it's majorly spearheaded by Jewish people. And if you're an American, most of the stuff that America is involved in around the world is majorly spearheaded by Jewish people in Israel. And once he arrived there, he got immediate pushback from his donors, who by that time they were pretty cool. They were like, "Yeah, man, keep discussing feminism, keep having these conversations. Blame women, blame politicians, blame liberals, blame globalists. Just don't look too deep into what is a common factor among people pushing all of this, because when you do, it's like, oops, hey, don't be anti-Semitic, don't be anti-Semitic. You got both." And he pushed back and he's like, no, you know what? That's enough. I've been trying to be honest my whole life. And it seems this is a common recurring theme. And you guys need to be honest about what you guys are doing. And you know what happened to the first Jew who did it? Jesus. They crucified him. So if they can crucify their own, they can definitely get rid of Charlie Kirk. So Charlie Kirk was assassinated in broad daylight for going against the people who propped him up, who gassed him up, because they wanted everybody to focus on what he's talking about at the surface level, the symptoms, but not the disease. But once he identified the disease and he refused to change, he had to go. They were like, yeah, this guy got to go. They tried to bully him. They tried to harangue him. They took off the money that they were giving him. He didn't stop, so they had to kill him. Now on to TPUSA, the organization. So the organization sprung up around this man because he was working to spread awareness about what is absolutely wrong in our society in the West today, right? Now, the organization sprung up around the man. The man was the organization, just like Steve Jobs was Apple. Apple died the day Steve Jobs died. It may be more valuable, it may be making more money, but Apple's soul was Steve Jobs. And you can even see that in his life. When they kicked him out for the first time, Apple collapsed and they had to buy Next, his new company, and bring Steve Jobs back. So these people, especially Jewish people, they don't have the understanding or the maturity to understand that single men are the reason for these things to happen and you can't just replace them. Or maybe they do, and then that's why they assassinate them, right? Charlie Kirk is gone, and his widow, we're going to do another judgment on that another time, doesn't seem to be grieving as much as she's trying to be managing. So imagine that you're working in a company and your boss gets blown up, right? Your first reaction, if you're a normal human being, is going to be shock. It's going to be like, oh my God, especially if the boss was nice, especially if you were married to the boss, right? You're going to be like, oh my God, I'm in shock. I'm grieving. Your first reaction is not going to be like, all right, I'm the CEO. Let's get everything back to normal. What's happening? Let's have some more money. Let's have some more fundraising. Let's have some more donors. So the judgment on TPUSA, number one, Erica Kirk is very sketchy. This is not a woman who is behaving naturally or normally. If the love of her life has just been killed. This is nothing that has ever occurred to a normal human being who genuinely loves the person. Number two, the donors, as we come to find out more and more of TPUSA, are basically Jews who are super Zionist or retarded idiot Christian Zionists who believe in defending the same people who want nothing but their utter destruction. And of course, they get paid for it. So it's basically Jews and stupid Christians who support Zionism. So all of these people who were bullying Charlie Kirk, who were like, we're not going to pay you any money, they came flooding back, brought a bunch of people with them, and now they raised more money than he ever did in his entire lifetime, about $250 million, right? That itself is indication of guiltiness. If the very people that were threatening the leader of your organization come back running to control your organization after he is assassinated, and you support them and you accept them, you are guilty. You are complicit. Number three, in this organization, there are a lot of people who were not fired for the absolute failure to prevent the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The head of security wasn't fired, the security firm wasn't fired, all the people surrounding him weren't fired. The only people fired are the ones who've been doing good work, but they were questionably loyal to the idea of TPUSA and Charlie Kirk rather than loyal to the narrative and whoever is paying the money. So these are the normal people who like, we believe in the message of TPUSA, so we're going to do what he wanted us to do. Instead of, if they tell you to strangle a kitten and we'll give you $1 million, you strangle a kitten. So these are normal people, not kitten stranglers. These people have gotten fired. But the security team that failed to protect the man who built the organization is still there. They're still there and they're working and they're getting promoted. If you are tasked with protecting the king and you fail, the least that should be done to you is firing you. That's the least that should be done to you. In earlier times, they would just straight up execute you for failing your duty. But in TPUSA, these people are getting promoted. Guilty. Very guilty. There is no better indication that this was an inside job than the people who murdered the founder getting promoted and staying on. To protect his erstwhile alleged wife and children. Alleged because she doesn't act like a wife, right? Three guilty points. Four, TPUSA and Charlie Kirk had no problems, no death threats, as long as he wasn't poking the disease, he was poking the symptoms. As long as he kept talking about the superficiality, talking to feminists, talking to whores, talking to homosexuals, talking to misguided young people about superficial stuff like women, men and girls, equal pay, feminism, college indoctrination, homosexuality, adoption of children, blah, blah, blah. As long as he was doing that, he was fine. But the moment he started digging into the root cause, he became very unfine very quickly. He started getting death threats. And whether he says it's the left or Israel that were trying to kill him, it doesn't really matter, because in the modern day, the left is just Jews who want to destroy a country culturally from the inside, and the right is Jews who want to destroy your country by killing your people in Israeli wars, right? So these are the people who were threatening him, who canceled their checks to him, who kept bullying him. And after he was dead, they all rushed back to give more money, to give more support. And people like Ben Shapiro, this guy is not an American, he's a passport American, right? He has no interest in the Constitution. He has no interest in the race of Americans that built the nation. He has no interest in Christianity. He's a Jew. He's a Jew first, and he's an Israel first, Jew first. So if a Jew is left wing or right wing, it just means he's left wing to benefit Jews. And if he's right wing, he's a right wing to benefit Israeli Jews. That's it. Now, Ben Shapiro, this Jew, never got along with Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk saw through him. This is an annoying, nasally voiced, non-charismatic, non-magnetic loser who has been, like we see now, propped up by Jewish money, and everybody's been told like he's awesome. Not really. He's not really. He's actively repulsive. If you want charismatic people, Jews are not it. Most of the time, Jews are not charismatic at all. They're actively repulsive just because of the way they behave, they act, the inbreeding, say what you will. So these kind of people, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk never liked him. And after he's assassinated, Ben Shapiro buys his way into Charlie Kirk's annual gathering of his people, Amfest, and he speaks about how close he was. So, number 4, TPUSA, you have invited the people that Charlie Kirk considered his enemies into your fray and painted Charlie Kirk's enemies as his friends. Guilty. Number 5, Charlie Kirk, like most people, was high IQ but not high enough. When he started off and he started growing bigger because of Jewish donors, they also suggested you need to have security 24/7. Interestingly, his security is basically a bunch of Jews from Israel, Mossad, and ex-American military, who, if you're good enough in the military in America right now, since JFK was assassinated, you're basically a Jewish puppet. And they were absolutely insistent on him having security at all costs. So you must be saying like, oh, well, they cared about him, right? No. Since JFK and the Secret Service's complicitness in JFK's assassination by pulling the agents off him before he was shot, we have understood that the security that Jewish or Israeli Jews put around you, or any military that they put around you, is basically not to protect you, but to make sure that in case you ever become a problem, you can be killed easily, right? So this security that Charlie Kirk had around him was pushed by Jewish donors. It was built by a bunch of Jews, Mossad, ex-military people, and they have not been replaced. He died on their watch. They failed to report to him that he was being trapped by military planes from Egypt, military planes from France. He was being tracked by multiple very powerful intelligence organizations. Because again, this is a puppet. All of the famous people that you see that are allowed to be famous positively are just puppets. Because once you reach a certain level, you get a call, especially in the West, from a Jew. He's like, yo, we run the West. Don't mess around. This is what you do and say, or we'll, eliminate you. So his security was the reason he was tracked everywhere. His wife was out at a fort with an ex 2 days before he was assassinated. His head of security was at a military fort the day before he was assassinated. A lot of sketchy things happened on the day of his assassination. Look at the video that Candace Owens puts out and Baron Coleman puts out and whatnot. This guy is a lawyer and Candace is an investigative bloodhound. So his security itself was not to secure him. His security was his executioners. So what is the verdict on them? Guilty. Charlie Kirk built up an organization called TPUSA. TPUSA made him who he was. His wife met him because he was part of TPUSA. And he was too naive to understand the stakes he was playing at. It was too late before he even started realizing that, hey, you're in your 30s, you're a grown-ass man, and this is just salad dressing what you've been doing and what you've been allowed to do. And the moment you come down and see the actual cockroaches and insects beneath the salad dressing, you get assassinated. His wife doesn't act like a widow, very questionable ties to child sex trafficking charities, which in the Jewish world is the opposite of what they say. If they say the sky is blue and the grass is green, that will be a rare day because they will say the sky is green and the grass is blue. That's literally their strategy. His wife met him through TPUSA, military, ex-military family, questionable ties to child sex traffickers also and child sex trafficking charities. Guilty. Doesn't act like a widow, more interested in making money and shutting up those who want to find out who Charlie Kirk killed, rather than finding out who killed Charlie Kirk. His organization's donors, Jews, majorly Jews who built him up, abandoned him when he started questioning Israel, came flooding back after he was assassinated. Guilty. His detractors, like Ben Shapiro and other Jews, who he did not like throughout his life, and who actively hated him for having Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and people like this, and giving them a platform to question why these people have so much influence in countries that are not their own. Guilty. His organization, the whole message, the whole security apparatus that was built to protect him, but in fact was built to trap him and kill him if he became out of control. Guilty. And his entire worldview, maybe until 1 year before his death, incorrect, looking at symptoms, refusing actively to see the disease, trying to talk to people who have, through their actions for thousands of years, shown that they do not want to talk. Charlie Kirk, you were guilty of ignorance. But in your last year, you absolved yourself of your guilt and you were innocent when you passed away. So the judgment on TPUSA is guilty. This is an organization that started as a force for order, and today it is an absolute force for chaos. It is not Turning Point USA anymore. It is Traitor Point USA. That is the judgment of WAYDE, the judgment that comes from above. Think on that. Until next time, keep it cool, keep it smart, and in these difficult times, as always, enjoy.